Welcome to the Academics Committee. Let me turn to the agenda. We'll first, I'm calling the meeting to order right at 5:01. And if everyone wants to spend a minute reviewing the minutes and see if there's anything. Everybody okay? Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Sharon,
So moved.
second? Okay, so the minutes have been approved. So let me sign that. Okay, and let's go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Jordan.
I'm right here.
Oh, there you are, sorry.
So
This feels really weird
yes,
since we're
well,
sitting.
and I assure you, Dr. Harrell, we talked about a whole variety of ways to try to keep the informal environment, and we're limited by cameras and microphones. So, with some new legislation, if you have a quorum, you must tape it and record it. And so these guys here, we typically, as you know, do not have as many attendees, but tonight it's really important because these folks are instrumental in some of the presentations that we'll make tonight. So we did pass out 2 mics. Raise your hand if you've got one. So they're gonna, when they have something to say, because we certainly don't want to lose the conversational part of it, they'll need to speak in the mic.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Dr. Jordan, Dr. Harrell, if I may, just as a reminder, I mean, this is basically being treated as a board meeting. And we'll talk a little bit more, especially tomorrow night, either at 5 o'clock or maybe 6 o'clock thereafter, as to the legislative changes and how committee meetings have to work. But if it would be helpful, I don't know that you know everybody, so I know this.
That would be.
Great idea.
It might be helpful just to do a quick round of introductions, if we can let the team know, obviously their position, who you are in the position, and like I say, then we'll get kicked off.
Thank you. So let's, Janice Jordan, so we'll,
Susan Cleveland, Executive Director of Continuous Improvement.
Erica Dillon, Director of Admin. Sandra Bonnet, Executive Director of Elementary Admin. Andy Sosa, Executive Director for Elementary Admin. Adriana Garza, Executive Director of.
Megan Bradley, Deputy Superintendent of Business Events.
Kathleen Cuevas, Executive Director of Student Services.
yes.
Congratulations. Thank you. Kimberly Ridgely, Assistant Superintendent of Child Development. Lori Gallegos, Assistant Superintendent of Elementary Instruction.
Stephen Daniel, Assistant Superintendent, Secondary Administration.
Deanna Dean, Assistant Soup Middle School Instruction.
Eric Tobias, Assistant Soup for Middle School Admin.
Valerie Sis, Executive Director for Secondary Admin.
Sherry Woods, Assistant Superintendent for High School Instruction.
Jessica Balamadas, Assistant Soup for Elementary Administration.
Joanne Fay, Deputy Superintendent for Administration.
Yes, thank you. So definitely an administration and C&I group here tonight with our program specialist. So the first couple items were actually requested items to be on the agenda. The first you'll see is Senate Bill 12. And in the packet is really a summary of the sections of Senate Bill 12, and we used the summary that TASA had provided, which was really helpful. As you know, this is a major piece of legislation that focuses on expanding parental rights and also restricting certain school activities and instruction. So there's multiple pieces to this. Some of it I'm sure you're familiar with. I think at policy, y'all talked about parts of this Senate Bill 12. Parental rights is a huge theme that can range anywhere from parents giving consent for nursing services, counseling services, for instructional programming. This also talks specifically about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and what the rules are for hiring anybody in that mode or for any staff directing initiatives in that regard. Another piece, they call it restrictions on instruction regarding social transitioning. So it gets in there and gets pretty specific. That's around what names you can call students, what pronouns you use, et cetera. So this is a pretty detailed overview, and just thought if there was anything specific of interest, we're happy to discuss. And that time might have flown by after this was requested, so.
There any questions? Oh, sorry. Well, you're like this?
I have Jasu. Hasso, perdón. Hasso. I can manage the lights.
No, I was wondering why she was going like this.
Hasso, would you like to go?
It's too funny. I think the only question I really had was how, I think this is still in legislation, right? Like it's being.
Yeah, I'll explain the process real quickly. So no, this Senate Bill 12 is engrossed, meaning that it has passed both chambers, has been signed by the governor. So it is state law. The limbo there are so many components that are going to touch so many different policies. I mean, if you can just kind of go through and look at the headings or the headers, you know, you've got DOI, you've got teacher certification, you've got then parental rights. So this is going to be a voluminous piece of the TASB 126 update that we hope to have before Thanksgiving. That's what we've been told, but it's going to be a pretty hefty lift. So while we don't have the legal and local policy as a result of Senate Bill 12, it has been enacted, and we're working on particular pieces, or have been working on particular pieces, particularly like the parental consent with mental health support, ensuring that our nurses feel comfortable in regards to rendering aid. Really, the what I would suggest to be the really hot buttons. We've already started working on putting in place administrative procedures because I know there's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
That being said, there will be numerous policies that will be touched as a result of this legislation. It's a big piece of legislation.
Okay. And how was this communicated to like principals? Like, was it how? Because I mean, reading is a lot. So,
Right.
What's the goal or how? Or
Yeah, we basically told principals, here are 160 pages of Senate Bill 12, and best of luck to you. We've prioritized.
Okay.
I mean, we just, hey, this is a lot. We need to, make sure that we're taking care of. We knew that the parental consent was going to be a big one with, like, say, mental health support. So Kimberly Ridgely and the team worked to stand that up actually right at the very beginning of the school year. And so we just try to go through and prioritize. As far as library materials, we feel like that we're in a pretty good position in that regard. We published the list well in advance in anticipation. In fact, that library list you'll have here momentarily. So we just try to go through and, for lack of better terms, prioritize, cherry pick what are the hot topics. One of the things that we've discussed with principals to be able to share with teachers, like the use of pronouns,
Okay.
what this really needs to look like, even though we are anticipating policy. I'm just trying to think of other examples.
So would the goal be to get information to principals by like November, end of November? Like, because obviously what we wouldn't want to happen is like either people doing their own thing or like multiple people having different forms or multiple people interpreting in a
Right.
different way. So I just,
So
what's the
what
goal?
we're trying to do is standardize everything. So this was, again, going back to the mental health and health support consent form that was generated, which we've had about a 50% parental response rate, I believe, to date. We want it to be, like I say, standardized across all campuses, all grade levels for all students. once we receive further guidance that will be in the form of policy update 126, that will then drive our implementation, i.e. administrative procedures, that yes, we'll be communicating with principals. But as things have popped up, I mean, we've tried to provide that level of guidance. I'm trying to think of another example.
Well, the whole, to your point, Dr. Kraft, you know, when we started the school year, it was really a lot of hot buttons with our counselors and our nurses. So that's one of the forms that he's
Yeah.
speaking of, to where some nurses felt like they couldn't even give a student a Band-Aid if they didn't have that. So Dr. Ridgely and her team, Mr. Pettis, and we were getting new information from the state each week. And so something like that was paramount. And to get to the right folks in terms of some of the instructional pieces, because one of the requirements is that parents must have access to any of the curriculum, the scope and sequence, all those kinds of things. So we collaborate with the other large districts, actually in the state of Texas, where we try to do similar things. And so right now for that, we're investigating where's the best place to post it, that information, how are we going to keep that information updated? So those are two very different examples. One, it's the kids are in school and we've got to make sure we have those consent forms. So that took a huge priority straight to nurses and counselors. This other piece is a priority, but we have a little bit more time to unpack that.
And a lot of it's also being driven by the guidance that we're receiving from the agency. For example, the prohibition of DEI and DEI-related duties. We've already gone through and audited web pages, course content, curriculum, made adjustments, even though we have been instructed that the certification process actually won't even open, even though it was due back, I guess, about a month ago, according to the legislation. It's been communicated with us through the agency, TEA, that this won't this certification process won't even open until next September. So so we're trying to prioritize based upon, like I say, the hot buttons, but also, or hot topics, but also the guidance that we're receiving from DEA. And again, awaiting update 126. Update 126, I know I've said this, it's not like a broken record. It will be a pretty hefty update. We've been told that they should have it to us hopefully before Thanksgiving, at the latest before we break for Christmas. So going into the second semester, and I don't really fault the TASB policy in the division, because it's just this is the largest ever since the inception of board policy that TASB is providing. So, Joanne,
Am I on?
Yeah.
Okay. I also think it's fair to share that the commissioner too is having a hard time keeping up with it. So he has actually posted a link online to his website now where you can see his timeline for implementing all the things that came out of the 89th legislation, which also gives us guidance. And so I can send that link to the group so you guys can track it through there. But it is, like Dr. Kraft said, it is a massive update that's coming. It's probably the largest that we've ever seen in public ed.
one of the things that we had our first NCN, or Northside Communication Network. We meet with the elementary representatives from every campus and secondary. And one of the questions I asked is, okay, in regards to support with the implementation of any legislation, new legislation, is there anything that you need assistance with? And I don't believe that there was actually one item. So I think we knew that cell phones was going to be a big one, personal devices. We got on that before the school year started. We knew that the homeschool participation was going to be a big one, or I knew that it was going to be a big one across the state. We got on that before the school year started. We've implemented, like I say, library books, the posting of materials, like say the parent consent. I mean, we're just working through piece by piece, even though to some degree we really haven't seen the policy yet. Just based on conversations that we've had with different agencies and organizations, really what needs to happen from an implementation standpoint.
Yeah, just you hit on a little bit. The one area I know I've been getting from community groups is on the DEI side of the house. Because naturally, there's not much information out, at least in the general public. You know, a lot of people say DEI is prohibited. And I said, no, that's not actually true. There's some prohibitions on DEI, and there's a big difference. The question is, especially some have been dealing with some of our schools, with clubs and other things, they're starting to get different feedback, and in some cases told they couldn't do certain clubs, et cetera. I guess from a process, you made a general comment, from a process standpoint, who should we have them, when they have those concerns, who should they go to?
Yeah, so first and foremost, if there is a concern with a club or enacting or I guess not continuing discontinuing a club, it would be the campus principal first and foremost.
Right. Yeah.
And then if for whatever reason they don't receive the answer or information that they need, they can come to us. It's probably more likely going to be a secondary, I would venture to say, top club.
Yep.
And so either Eric or Steve can definitely help facilitate that. One of the things that we do request is there needs to be a club sponsor. And so sometimes that is a limiting factor, as you can imagine. There are a lot of clubs already on our secondary campuses, and so it just kind of depends on whether a sponsor is willing to take on another club. But yeah,
Good.
Yeah, I was going to add earlier, but Janice or somebody had covered it, regarding the lag time between when legislation is passed and then even TEA rulemaking before the attorneys can get a hold of the legislation and come out with the policies. So I appreciate all that's been done. I know that a lot of our smaller school districts are really having some challenges trying to sift through all of this. So thank you.
And we're trying to help, with service center districts as well. I mean, we have a little bit more broadband in that regard, just with legal review and just kind of helping us navigate right now. But right now, I mean, I honestly feel like the hard work that many have put in this room, we're in a pretty good position from legislation that has been enacted. Now, that's not to say that we don't have some additional work ahead of us, but I feel like that we're definitely keeping our head above. Maybe up to our neck, but we're keeping our head above. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious as like especially with the DEI policy and the prohibition of DEI duties. I'm wondering if an employer volunteer, it says here on page 2 in the second paragraph, who intentionally or knowingly, what if they are unintentionally, because it's not very clear yet, or unknowingly, are we now in a warning stage until it's intentional or we know about it specifically? And I'm talking about, for example, if they're doing some kind of school festival that they've always done, is that all of a sudden not allowable?
Yeah, I think it just needs to be reviewed on a case-by-case basis. I mean, the reality is as we all know, we're a very diverse school district, and we're going to continue to celebrate our diversity. And to Mr. Blunt's point, I mean, I think that there are allowable festivals and celebrations that are absolutely still permissible, but if there's a question, we're just asking, like say campus administration, just reach out and let's have that conversation. I don't know of anything historically that would be in violation of the law. Now that's again through the lens of a superintendent that is charged with ensuring that we are continuing to celebrate and embrace all cultures and ethnicities, and that's not to say that we're not going to be taken to task. It's an interesting world right now.
Okay, that's good to hear. And I know I forwarded you some stuff that came through, so thank you for responding to that. My next, yeah, I'm sorry, I just have one more question, sorry. So in regards to, and I'm just not understanding the language here with contracting, minority, women-owned stuff, like intentionally, I don't know that that was clear for me. So we can still work with women-owned or hubs. There's a paragraph here about an HUB, and then minority women, minority-owned businesses. So I think that was like a big one for,
Yeah,
Small
Carla, if you can
businesses.
direct us to the
yeah.
page.
Oh, yeah, it's right underneath that. Provides that nothing can be construed to limit or prohibit a district from contracting with a hub, a business owned by members of a minority group or by women in accordance with applicable state law. So we already have those contracts on the books. Are those staying? How are we dealing with that?
Let me catch up just real quickly.
It's saying that
It's okay.
it's okay, like. Yes.
We're okay with
Yes,
those.
we're good,
Okay.
yeah.
But we're just not adding to those? It's like,
If something comes out, as we have done, we will add to it, but we have always said that we cannot limit it for
so many laws are changing.
Not,
Okay,
yeah, so we
thank
don't
you.
preclude, actually, it's just the opposite, and we haven't ever. I think that the legislation and soon-to-be policy is more than likely districts may not preclude, must include, any and all. And that's going to be the same with many of the personnel-related policies in regards to hiring practices.
I just never known a policy to be like, oh, you're this, so you're hired. Like that's best qualified for us, right? It's always been the most qualified, the best experience and best fit.
Well, and that, like I say, that'll be the spirit of all of the language that you're going to see in policy. So yeah, we're going to be inclusive.
Yeah.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm sorry, I apologize for my tardiness. Just we're dealing with this on a daily basis. I think it's just educating and for me, it's just being on the same page. How are they going to be implemented? Again, when teachers are asking questions, like knowing exactly where to go to. When that principal doesn't understand, where do they go to? And then just being on the same page. I think that's the most important thing about all of this, to kind of weather through all this, is just being on the same page, being transparent, and making sure that we are training our principals, our APs, our teachers. I think that's probably the most important thing, going through all of this and being consistent and fair and moving forward.
Yeah, and I don't know that in regards to punitive, I don't know of a single case that we've had any type of a punitive response from a personnel management in regards to a violation associated with Senate Bill 12. But if the teachers have questions as just what can I or cannot do, what are the rules of engagement, if you will. If the principal doesn't know the answer, of course, we've got an entire supporting cast, depending on what the matter may be. If it's a special ed matter, if Kathleen doesn't have the answer, or if Steve doesn't have the answer, if Dr. Fay doesn't have the answer, then we'll reach out to legal counsel and try to find out. But I don't know of many, or if any, that we've received that I don't know how to comply with Senate Bill 12 in this particular area. So if there are, and that's why I asked the question to NCN the other day, is are there any things that we need to discuss or help a campus, really particularly our classroom teachers, navigate at this point and I didn't have any responses in the chat or answers that led us to believe that we needed to be doing something to better support classroom teachers. So if there is, we need to know what it is.
Well, and I'm just going to add to that because sometimes I don't know what I don't know, right? And this was very comprehensive. And when I did look at it, I did get, there was one example at the bottom of page 2 where I have actually helped a child who came to me who was transitioning and wanted to know who to talk to, where to go. I mean, I'm reading this, and when I saw it the first time, I thought, oh, I could have been that person, and it requires the Board of Trustees to adopt a policy prohibiting an employee of the district from assisting an enrolled student with social transitioning, which I wasn't. I was directing the person to who they could go talk to, but also we also had a list of area community support for transitioning for family and kids. But it says including by providing any information about transitioning or associated guidelines. It allows a parent of an enrolled student or district employee to report to the Board of Trustees a suspected violation of the policy, which I think I probably would have been in trouble had someone, and then it requires the board to immediately report a confirmed violation to the commissioner. So I could have been out of a job, or my certification. I mean, that's the panic that a teacher would feel like, they're going to take my certification away. When I read this was very punitive. And I'm just trying to think in the past 10 years, there's always a kid or two that is going through this where you've assisted them with, I'll walk you to the counselor and, or whatever, just sit down and talk with them. I don't know. It's taken different shape and forms, but I wouldn't have known this had I not had this. So I guess that leads me back to, and I know not every teacher will take the time to read this, but I can't be the only one that this particular one has happened to. And I'm just wondering.
Which one?
It's at the bottom, page 2, assistance with social transitioning prohibited.
Well, they've asked me just to call them a different name, and that they can't do that now, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's one
Right.
that we work through with our campus principals. Let me come back and answer both questions. In regards to preferential names. In fact, this is going to be one that we're going to need to address from a graduation announcement, commencement ceremony here pretty quickly. And we'll work through it. We're not there yet. But what we've encouraged teachers, if you have a question as to what is the biological name of a student, and actually this was a teacher's practice, is use their last name. And that, it's not a perfect scenario, but if there's a concern, there you have it. In regards to assisting a student, we've taken the approach that even with the consent, parental consent forms, if a student is injured or if a student is in need of some form of assistance, we're going to assist the student. We're not going to place the student in a corner and say, well, I'm sorry, your parent hasn't filled out this form yet. Now, that being said, I think the spirit of the legislation is, from a safeguard standpoint as an educator, is include the parent in that, unless there's some serious safety concern in regards to abuse or neglect, include the parent in the conversation as quickly as possible. And I'm going to argue that 99% of the time, the parents are going to be appreciative, and then we can work to navigate who best can help facilitate the conversation with the parent as a partner. And I think that's the intent of Senate Bill 12. I didn't author the legislation, and I'm not about to even remotely claim to support or endorse, but
Like to your
this
point, though,
yeah, this is what we have, and so we're gonna help work through it. But
you're talking about having an outcry that we're still gonna help that no matter any of this.
yeah, I mean, I told, like, say, our principals, and I told the NCN representatives, and well, I've even recorded it on a catching up with Kraft in the sense of we will defend coming to the aid of a student
Safety.
in a time of need, and then we'll deal with the consent fallout, down the road. I mean, I just don't think that's going to be 99%, 99.9%. I'm pretty confident that parents would be appreciative of helping a student in the time of need versus not as a result of not having filled out or provided consent.
Just to add, and I know we're talking about this like in the perspective of teachers and here, everybody in this room, trying to do our best that we can to make sure that that we follow these, but I think we also can't lose sight of our students because we might not be getting issues left and right, but they're coming, and the kids know, parents know what's written on this. And, I know you had mentioned that we're gonna continue to be inclusive. And so I think moving forward, we just always keep that in mind, that, our kids understand, maybe not to the full extent, but they know that this is out there, and to them, it's like an attack. And so I feel like it's really important for all of us to work together to make sure that we just, make sure that we tell our kids that, we're here to support you again, and it's for this, it's for the students. It's to help them feel safe and supported, right, and cared for. So I don't want to lose that mindset.
The other thing too is like some folks, like Robert, you go by Bobby. William goes by Bill. Jesus goes by Tui. Like those are some other things that are gonna come up. Like why does he get to change his name and why can't I? And I just see like those are some of the things that might spiral out of all of this. It's just what's equitable across the board by our preference, of how we just like to be addressed. Like Dr.
Yeah,
Dudan,
I could say
PhD.
we have knock on wood, we haven't, to my knowledge, chime in. We haven't experienced really any challenges thus far. I do anticipate though, commencement ceremonies, formal type ceremonies, the preferred name versus the biological name. That's going to be something we're going to have to navigate. I mean, I even asked the question of the secondary representatives, have we had challenges navigating transgender restroom utilization? No. And the approach that we've always taken is just working through those individual situations with the family as a partner. And we've just been able to navigate those particular, like say, individual needs and situations. And that's the approach that we're going to continue to take. Yeah, I mean, you can definitely read through just the Senate Bill 12 overview. It is not only very, like say, voluminous, it's attacking. Yeah, I can say that was very much intended. That's what transpired this 89th legislative session.
Anybody have anything else? Okay. About Board of Superintendent goals.
Yes, ma'am. So it was requested to bring these back for discussion. And so just as a reminder, you guys began working on these in earnest in July. We did the ISO training, and then I believe you had a board workshop, and began drafting those goals and objectives and revisited them for tweaking, and then they were brought forward for board adoption.
Sonia?
I can't remember what was ever decided, Dr. Kraft, about the 3 required ones. Those are going to be somewhere else.
So you, go ahead, Janice. if
Oh,
you wanna-
yes. Yes, ma'am. Those are in the district improvement plan.
So that's in a different.
That's in it. So the district improvement plan is literally that. It's about specific improvement that's tied to required growth. So we know the grade 3 and CCMR that you need to grow at the meets level for reading and math at grade 3. So you're required to have instructional targets. So that's in a separate.
And that didn't need board approval, is I guess.
That does need board approval, and so that's actually in here tonight.
Got it. I was like, that was the part where I was like, I don't remember seeing that
Yeah,
in.
if you recall in the ISO training, at a minimum, the boards must adopt a 3rd grade mathematics, reading, language arts, and then the CCMR, college career military readiness goals. But you'll see in our district improvement planning process, we far exceeded those 3 minimum. We'll have those 3, but much more from a performance objective standpoint.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, nothing else. We'll move on to accountability requirements for 25-26.
Yes, in just a moment, we're going to present an overview of the turnaround plans for 4 campuses and 3 elementary. So that's Meade, Colby Glass, and Martin, and 1 middle school. So as a reminder, the state released 3 years of accountability within a few months. And you're considered turnaround by the state if you have multiple years of what they consider unacceptable grades. So turnaround schools have certain requirements. One is that they create what's called a turnaround plan, which is very detailed. We continue to get updates on what pieces need to be included. These turnaround plans are brought to boards of trustees, and they're due to TEA by November 21st. And so what we want to do this evening is present an overview of the key components. You see in your packet, TEA has even produced what are some success criteria for turnaround plans. It's heavy on stakeholder input, on being very clear about strategies for improvement and what they call milestones, which you can think of those as kind of formative benchmark measures along the way. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with Meade Elementary, and walk through the components. They had their community meeting last week, so we can dig into that. Then we'll look at the 3 other campuses that really don't need to implement their plan until next year, but we're already implementing all of the plans. They're already underway. So at this time.
Sorry, Trustee Harrell, can I ask a quick question?
No,
Thank you. Gonna choke.
sorry.
That's my normal response. So let me ask a preliminary question, is okay? Because I read through all the turnaround plans and they're very good. But and Meade I'm glad we're starting with Meade. Can you you all talk a little bit more about Meade? And let me tell you why. One is because, we're year 3, we're getting close to 4, and at 5, we as a board would be very concerned per se. But the real question is, can you give us more information on why Meade has faced these challenges? I know we've talked about it lightly, whether it's the demographics, population, in the context of not only understanding the challenges faced there, but there are other things as we as a board should be thinking about that may need to be done too. I'm not going to describe them right now, but there's a lot that we as a board could do separate from all the activities and actions that you all are doing from a turnaround plan. I think it'd be good just to have a discussion on, hey, board, this is why we've had the challenges just at Meade, for example.
Yes, that's a great question, Mr. Blunt, and I'm certainly looking around at all the compadres. I would say generally, one of the number one pieces has been the inability to have a high-quality teacher in every classroom. We have fantastic teachers at Meade. There's a lot of turnover. There had been a lot of turnover at that campus. And so the principal there has done a really good job. And she's only been there a few years and kind of growing that team and commitment. But that campus has had some struggles with vacancies. So that's one of the big pieces that we're working towards.
But why
And
though?
why?
Why is that?
Yeah.
Well, a whole host of things. You know, we see sometimes trends that in some of our Title I campuses, you may see teachers with fewer years of experience. Sometimes you see higher turnover rates. You know, to your question, Mr. Blunt, what can be done differently perhaps? Other than, you know, we have certainly Title I funds where you can purchase, you know, additional positions. We really don't have a different staffing model for some of those higher need campuses. And so that have higher needs and more turnover. So part of that's really kind of a hallmark of this particular plan. The second thing, and then I know y'all are chomping at the bit. The second thing is some of the needs and the challenges of the children and the families in that community. As a matter of fact, Dr. Fay and I think on Wednesday, and we're actually going to go into the community and go visit some homes. There's been a real marked change of the student population, and there are some unique needs that we need to meet. We looked today, Dr. Ridgely had stepped out. Many of the students there and part of the change are, you know, they're some of our unschooled asylee refugees. Well, it came to, you know, a thought, well, many of them may not celebrate Christmas, may not celebrate Thanksgiving. So actually putting together a model to use some of the community centers to provide tutoring over the week of Thanksgiving, over the week of Christmas break, to kind of, so that's an example, because we usually don't do that for our general population, but this population, it might be a need. And so I'll kick it to, I'm looking at Jessica and Lori and Dr.
So I'll also speak to that in many ways. I would say most campuses across Texas, our state, the city of San Antonio, all of your poor performing campuses are going to follow along economic lines. And that is true for the campuses at Northside in particular that are in this kind of predicament. I think in particular, in addition to the things that Dr. Jordan has talked about, is that we do have a very high population of emergent bilingual staff there. And this is, student population. And in relationship to finding high quality staff, what has happened is instead of supporting students in classrooms, those people are subbing, picking up other duties and things like that because high turnover rate, which means in particular, teachers absent a lot, or for example, we're dealing with the state requirement for reading academies and soon coming up, math academies, which requires you to be out of the classroom for 10 solid days. So when you have those things, students aren't getting access to high quality instruction from their teachers. Then you add to it the high percentage of emergent bilingual population where their services are also not being included in the daily implementation and execution of Tier 1 instruction. And so it's kind of like this perfect storm of economics, and then you have a demographic issue along with all the things that the state is requiring us to do. So is it possible to turn things around? And the answer is absolutely yes. And I love it because I know Dr. Jordan she knows that I'm very curious about creating a true turnaround staffing model that's going to be different than what you see at traditional schools where they're not having these, in particular, these concerns. And so I'm going to go ahead and let my team talk now because they, along with Lori Gallegos and my staff and all of curriculum and instruction, they've done a phenomenal job of making deliberate decisions about putting high quality staff in front of those kids on a daily basis so that we can move forward. And then as we're planning the redesign of how we're going to now work with students in poverty. So thank you.
I think many of those questions can be answered if we can start with the overview of.
Let me throw out one more then, okay?
Okay, go
All right,
ahead.
then I'll be quiet. And I'm probably gonna leave early, that'll help you out. So even just like the feedback, again, I'm doing it from and I'm with you, and I know why you want to get to the other part, but just from a board's sake, for example, and I had to pick my words closely because I just gotta be careful. But nevertheless, we've had solutions for high schools when we had economic challenges, whether it be making them magnet or academy schools, bringing in there, which sort of changes the demographics and helps out in some other type things too. And I don't know if we've ever done that at elementary school. I'll leave it that particular way. The other thing is, like your suggestion, that's a great one for Thanksgiving and the Christmas and other holiday time periods. I'm out right now pushing SAPD and a bunch of others for this reading type thing. Boy, what if we had a big community boost just to support that campus, for example? That's something else, and we have some other connections here from a board sake that we may can help out on for the whole year, et cetera. But again, I was thinking also from a board sake, and I'll be quiet now. I'll just throw that out.
I just want to add to that though, also like Teach for America, have we ever tapped into that group or CIS? I'm sure they're there already, but if it's been 3 years, how, in the years of experience is an issue, why not put more tenured teachers on those campuses versus the brand new teachers?
Well, and that's a great point, Dr. Duran. And so as part of this turnaround plan, that's what's happening. And we've added a stipend for those teachers on top of it. And, it gets to one of those things, to Dr. Fay's point, in Northside, because we've been able to do it, we staff campuses the way we staff all elementary campuses the same. We staff, other than if you have Title I funds and you buy an extra reading specialist. And so we've been having a lot of conversation, and really the reality is the needs are not the same. And so what is the basic way that we staff everyone, and then how do we truly get in and differentiate and be responsive when we see those changes? Another piece, in Northside, we're the 4th largest district, so there are districts that are larger than us in terms of enrollment and number of campuses, but our footprint is huge. And so we also see some of the turnover with teachers who live different places and have their own children, and kind of the commute to other places, that it's a long commute each way. Well, so what we talk about it is then, does there need to be something else added to incentivize teachers? We are very hopeful. We're getting ready to have our first payout of TIA, the Teacher Incentive Allotment. And one of the benefits of that is the higher need campus where you're teaching, the larger your potential payout can be. So we do believe that potentially certainly can be an incentive. And Dr. Blunt, Mr. Blunt, your point about the community kind of coming together, and certainly I don't want to steal Jessica's thunder, but it is amazing to watch what's already happening in the Meade community. They had their meeting with their parent group to go over the plan to see what changes the parents wanted to make. And the community, and their comment was, just tell us how we can help. Tell us what we can do to come in and provide assistance. So I think there's a readiness there. Is there any other?
So Janice, I had a question if someone else doesn't. The 2 campuses we have that are year-round, is it possible to apply for that because they've seen such tremendous improvement? And you're right, you can't compare. Like I'm looking right down the street from Meade is Colonies North, and I don't know in the accountability report, because they give you comparable campuses, if, Meade and McDermott and Colonies North are kind of share some of that space. What's working there that could be borrowed, but the year-round model sounds really good, and there's money that the state gives for that, so I'm wondering about that. And then what are some things that, going back to what Carla said, CIS has been there, right? So what's been tried and what is, I guess, I had down incentives, but you did say stipends are going to be something.
Are you talking about for the teachers?
Yes,
At
yeah.
the campus?
So stipends, but I also know that something really neat when that works with teachers that are at a really challenging school is a different type of a schedule. So something creative with scheduling, so there is more time to plan or time to really talk about kids' needs or come up with different activities, but more time. So flexible schedules in order to allow for more planning time. I don't know, but I know that the year-round people were talking about that and how that was such a gift and it made all the difference in the world and they really were able to rally the community. And so anyway, those three things. So I guess
And they call them
flexible-
the Enrichment Academies. So that's at
Enrichment,
Cable
thank
and
you.
Westwood.
Yes.
And yes, Westwood's a B. Cable's a C from and heading straight towards a B. It's been, as a matter of fact, we have slated for our
Huge.
next academics. We want to bring you guys an Enrichment Academy a report. But as with anything, you know, it's kind of balancing the resources, you know, that we're applying different places. But yes, that model has allowed for flexibility of scheduling, added in enrichment and increased
and
planning
incentives
time.
for teachers. So the three things you talked about, we have two models that are already working. That isn't it an application process? to
Well,
apply to
we
get,
we
state
began
funds?
and we applied for the grant and we received the grant and we ended up there were so many things that you had to implement that weren't in alignment with what we were implementing. So instead we get the ADA, we get partial day ADA for it. So there's an offset. So when we bring this back to you guys, just as an update on how those two campuses are doing, we're going to actually bring you a breakdown of the cost that includes the offset of the ADA we receive. So you can see the real cost of running these campuses. Because is that a model that we're going to continue at those two campuses? Because it is expensive. But it's a matter of kind of weighing out, what the needs are and for that, the willingness of the community and the teachers.
Yep.
And the principal, of those campuses, if it aligns with, kind of their.
Are we
philosophy.
able to do culturally relevant pedagogies or not anymore?
Well, yeah.
We can go back to Senate Bill 12.
12, yeah.
Okay. I mean, I know that works, but
Can I add?
Comment.
Yes, Eric, our bilingual director, did you? Oh, you should, Mike.
Karen, do you want to ask something real quick?
Okay, just a minute. I'm okay.
Oh, Eric.
Just to
Are we
answer your
starting?
question, Dr. Dunan, under CBLI that's given to the state, that's one of the third pillars of that is where we do they've changed it, right? It's just linguistically diverse, accommodations, but it's included in the pedagogy that we provide in training for the campus.
Linguistically diverse.
Yes. Yeah. Well, the state revamped all of that after the Senate bill came out. So even under CBLI, the three pillars are now different because it used to be culturally sensitive professional development. It was that third pillar, but they had to change the wording.
Yes, we'll get it in Friday letter.
I did a comment. So I remember back years ago when we had a campus, and we were always in Northside proud of our low teacher turnover rate. A lot has happened since we've looked at that. We were well below average where, I think we were at 8% or certainly in the single digits. And we also, at the time where the state was looking at failing, my years run together. When the state was looking at failing schools, and they were pointing at the fact that there were those schools, many of them did not have highly qualified teachers or high turnover rates. We weren't in that particular category. So I kind of wonder if when we slipped away of looking at our high turnover rates and our highly qualified teachers in some of our schools that are having challenges, and somehow there's a lot of things that have happened, and we've been paying attention to so many things. I just don't want to lose sight. We're looking at Meade right now, and I know that you said that we're looking at turnaround plans for our other campuses, but I think we need to look at and go further than even that. And when we see these trends, I just wonder if somebody's paying attention to that. When we see the trend of high turnover rates and those highly qualified teachers and all of that, that we do need to pay attention. Even if that school is doing well now, because of the trend, that's a concern. Yes. And I remember back, I thought we talked about incentives for keeping highly qualified teachers, and I think somehow we lost sight of that conversation back a while ago too. So just let's not. I know you said we're looking at those other schools, but let's go even further than that and keep that in our the metrics of what we look at. And thank you, Bobby, for asking that question.
Yes.
That's all.
Okay, so so we'll dig into this, and as we mentioned, this is the overview for Meade, and this campus must implement this plan this year, and actually what the guidance says is they don't have to implement it until after November because it's due in November. We began implementing it really first week and a half of school and have adding things to it. So this plan is well underway. When we talk about the other 3 campuses, actually those plans don't have to be implemented until next year, which is very interesting. We've already begun implementing those plans. So Jessica is our DCSI and Assistant Superintendent of Administration, and is doing a fantastic job leading a whole team and working with Amanda and the leaders. So I will kick it to you.
All right, thank you. And I'm hoping to answer some of your questions specifically as you've asked around support from CIS, the liaisons, what we're doing to ensure high-quality teachers in every classroom, how we're doing capacity building within those teachers, to give you just maybe a little narrative of why the turnaround occurred at Meade. And so I'm hoping that we're able to hit all those questions as we go along through this overview. What I would like you to know is that we've been working closely with Christina Brewer, our District 20, Region 20 representative, who will be working with us monthly. Also with Pamela Williams, who is the TEA representative, who has already done a Meade visit and spent a half day there with us, looking at the implementation of our plan that has not been quite approved. And when she left, she said, certainly this campus has a culture of learning. And there's a lot of great things happening here. And so she approved, without having the approval yet, the overviews that we're going to look at tonight. And is very hopeful for the success we hope to see with the implementations of these plans. And so I just wanted to let you know they have already been in our buildings and our classrooms. They have reviewed our plans, and they're just linking with us and partners to ensure that we get these schools out, okay? So first, we're going to start with an overview of Meade Elementary. We're going to first discuss the purpose of the turnaround plan. Dr. Jordan already stated that it is required that any school that has an F rating 3 years in a row, that we create a plan for implementation this year. So that's the first slide there. TEA has asked us to create 2 goals for reading and for math, in which we're looking at meets and masters so that we can get a C or better. And that's indicated under campus goals. We're looking at 36% at the meets and masters for reading to kind of break that ceiling, and 31% at meets and masters in math. And oh, there you go. Lori, if you can be my partner there. What they've asked us to look at is a school improvement strategy in which we can reset the campus at a C or better, and we're looking at a school improvement strategy of intensive curriculum and instruction improvements. What we're doing right now currently at Meade to ensure that we have high quality teachers in every classroom is we are putting our academic specialists in every classroom. So they're partnering. There's a co-teach model in every classroom in 3rd through 5th, in which they are the ones teaching the Tier 1 instruction. And they're providing the modeling and building of capacity for those classroom teachers, because many of them have 3 years or less of experience. So as we're building capacity with those teachers in those grade levels, we're ensuring that every day, every lesson is high quality, and that's through the academic specialists as well as with the curriculum and instruction department. We have pulled individuals from Lori's department as well as from Erica's bilingual department to ensure they have the very best every day during instruction. We've also included support from CNI in the bilingual department during our PLC planning days. They do that twice weekly. And so we have done some curriculum compacting to ensure that we're pulling out the readiness standards. So those standards they must know. And then the supporting standards will come through their guided targeted reading groups and at their stations. And so we've done a lot to ensure that they get those readiness standards right away. In the 25-26 school year, we're also looking to do an adoption of HQIM for math. And then in 26-27, we're looking to do implementation of the math curriculum, also looking at an adoption of a reading curriculum. And then in the following year, we would look to do implementation of the reading curriculum. So we have set forth here a plan for the next 3 years to continue to improve our school improvement strategy of intensive curriculum and instruction improvements.
They're not. They use, so that's not a difference maker for them, those particular pieces. But when we approach HQIM adoption, which we're going for all content areas eventually, that will include them as well. And so these are some of the pieces we write in the plan. And so the next slides will get into the nitty gritty of what this is going to look like in the classroom.
And within the adoption and implementation stage, we have a year-by-year plan, which includes the planning, the training, and then the implementation, and also a monitoring and adjustment piece throughout the years from 25 to 28.
Jessica, can I add one thing too?
Yes,
As we're talking about the support at Mead, obviously we're talking about high quality Tier 1 instruction and materials and really working with our students that need a little more attention, a little more support. But we also did not want to forget our high achieving students, our students who have qualified for gifted and talented or who are very high advanced learners. And so we also have CNI support out at the campus weekly that's in those 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade classes as well, focusing on the strategies we use for students who are at an advanced level as well.
For
Our packet also doesn't have the 27, 28 year, just to let you know. So that might have been updated. after.
Yes, we were aware of that. So when that was
when the,
yeah.
But my question
That's
is,
it.
since our drop in MAP scores, and I don't know if that's the only piece of data you looked, happens in 2nd
back.
grade, should we not be focusing
At the beginning.
before that, 1 to 2?
Could you repeat the question, Dr. Duran?
The data shows in MAP that the year 2 is when that drops at Mead in particular. So why not start at year 1 in 1st grade?
In terms of extra support in the classrooms. So part of it right now is through that turnaround work is really focusing on 3rd, 4th, and 5th and the accountability system and the STAR scores, because that is unfortunately how we are assessed is in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. But at the same time, we still have specialists that are working with our kinder, 1st, and 2nd grade teams as well with planning. Those students are still getting interventions and support too. So we haven't left them behind. It's just where our laser focus is from our standpoint and our turnaround plan is really with 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
And you'll see, Dr. Duran, in the district improvement plan that we have targets for kinder, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and our measures, of course, aren't STAR, but there are other assessments where we're monitoring how those students are doing. And then when we get to the MAP data, what that is that's the beginning of the year students that took it in September, and it's comparing where another group of students was at the beginning of the year previously. So it's comparing two different sets of students because all we had was BOY. But we do look at, because those, if you see second grade dipped, that means it was a difference from first grade. So we use that data along with some of the other pieces, measures to
We don't have end of year yet because it hasn't.
So we do beginning of the year in September, and then we'll do what they call MOY, which is middle of the year. And then the end of the year is before STAR. And so typically we think of the BOY as a baseline, so between the BOY and MOY, that's really, because that shows growth within that particular year. But we know we can't use just that one metric. That's one piece along with some other.
I don't know for folks that don't understand MAP, but when it first started, came from California, I helped first introduce MAP to a community here, and it rigors you up. So if you're going above your grade level, it'll take you to as far as you can go. So I love MAP for that reason, because it's not prohibitive of what you're supposed to learn. Only it lets you tell your own story or your own narrative, and it lets us know that even if they're above level. So that helps us. We can't do anything with them. They still have to stay at their grade level, but it'll help understand their learning better.
Yeah. And Dr. Didon, the instructional support strategies are provided K-5, even during PLC planning. You'll also note there that many of our families stay after school in Learning Tree. And so we've extended the day in that manner, in which we have tutorials for 2nd through 5th grade. And then we've also, at our public meeting, our parents have asked for more online interventions to be done at home, because they feel that's the best way they can provide support for their child. And so in working with CNI from last week's meeting, we are going to be able to provide those online interventions done at school for them to be done at home as well. And then we will support them when we go to home visits. If they need assistance on how to log on or how to maneuver through the program, we'll be there for them. Okay, and so hopefully in working with Dr. Ridgely and her program through the holidays, we'll be able to work one-on-one with our families and see what we can do to help extend the learning day for them through the holidays.
Very cool.
Just sort of quick. Can you remind? I may be outdated, but we'll see. For newcomers or first-year immigrants, there's no longer a 3-year.
No.
Is it 2 years?
They have 2.
Is it 1 year or 2?
They get a 1-year reprieve.
1 year.
And then they count in accountability.
Okay, thank you.
Right. And so you'll see here in working with Erica and her department, they have been instrumental in ensuring that we have those high yield strategies for our English language learners. We've also partnered with an outside agency in which they come in and make observations and help coach our teachers with those CBLI strategies, and that's been very beneficial. We're also ensuring that we provide targeted intervention, as I stated, after school hours for our students, because we found that about 189 of them still stay with us till the very end of the day. And so we wanted to make sure we provided the very best accelerated academic program for them throughout the day. One of the big components, not just for Meade, but for all elementary schools, is the implementation of daily writing across all content areas. And so we're working really hard on that as well. This is the piece we talked about, is the support and capacity building. There's a lot of training going on, and what we found was we were pulling teachers very often off campus for training. And so one of the changes that we have made is including the intervention specialists to go in to teach that tier 1 instruction, that modeling, so that they can get the training that they need right on campus instead of pulling them away. And so we have made sure that we've tailored their PD to be at the campus and finding identified times after school hours, so we're not pulling them off campus. They need to be with our kids each and every day. We've put specialists from the CNI department and bilingual department in every PLC for every grade level to ensure they have a great understanding of the curriculum that needs to be delivered each and every day for all of our students. Of course, that comes with the curriculum compacting, in particular to third and fifth right now, and looking to go down to the other grade levels. In just a bit, we're going to talk about some extra personnel that we put out at Meade Elementary, in which we've designated an administrator just for K1 and 2, so that we can ensure that they get the same kind of support as our third through fifth grade teachers, because we want to ensure that we're growing a strong cohort as we move our kinder, first, and second grade students up to third through fifth. Just as well as we're building capacity with our classroom teachers, we're also building capacity from CO down. Monthly, Region 20 will be working with myself and my team on classroom visits, on coaching our principals, so that therefore our principal can coach the teachers the very best way that they can. And so we have a whole group of stakeholders here to implement the plan: campus administration, campus staff, our parents and community members. And as you'll see there, almost every department, from central office staff, from administration, C&I, continuous improvement, HR, budget and finance, and of course, Region 20 and TEA. What's most important in this implementation of the plan is our performance management piece, which is the monitor and the adjust. We're working weekly in coaching visits out at Meade. So I go out to Meade weekly and I work with campus administration, in which I sit in their PLCs. I do classroom visits with them, and then afterward we debrief and calibrate the classroom walkthroughs and come up with action steps for the very next week, as well as weekly PLC meetings. The principal is responsible for ensuring that she does bi-weekly walkthroughs on every teacher. So every teacher is expected to get a walkthrough every 2 weeks with feedback. And if necessary, we will come up with very specific plans for any student, teacher that might be struggling or looking to advance. And then as well as Region 20 is coming out monthly to do those classroom visits with us to monitor the fidelity of our TAP plan. TEA has already come out once. We told them we will continue to provide them our monthly updates. They are probably going to come out mid-year and then again at the end of the year. As stated, the fall visit that they came out, they were very complimentary of the work we've done so far there at Meade Elementary. For the turnaround plan timeline, we're looking to implement this year. We're going to conduct interim checks and ensure that we have monthly reviews with Dr. Kraft and our core team. We can include those monthly reviews for your review as well as we meet at academics, or if you would like it on our Friday letters during the month when we present to the superintendent. That will include any assessment data checks that we do, especially here in January, Dr. Dudan, when we do our MOI with MAP to see how we're doing from fall to winter. And then at the end of the year, we'll do a needs assessment to identify any areas of improvement and changes we need to make for year 2 implementation. And we're hoping this time at the end of the year, we'll tell you that we are at a reset of C or better.
I'd like to add that I didn't see anywhere. What about LPAC coordinators? Because those are very important, that you get an experienced one that knows what they're doing.
Yeah, Erica can speak to that.
So at that campus, they do have an admin intern, and she's their LPAC coordinator right now, but she was a previous language support teacher and knows the programs really well. So she works with the language support teachers and admin and classroom teachers to be able to make the right decisions and make sure we're in compliance.
She's got some experience.
She does.
Yeah, that's real important. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, she's highly qualified, and we made sure that any current vacancies that we have at Meade Elementary have been filled with experienced people.
Masters, put them all there. We need all the master teachers.
Yes, and so for resources, you'll see here we have additional teachers in the classroom. We have teacher stipends for certain individuals that we have brought in from our bilingual and C&I department, as you had spoken to, our master teachers that are helping us through PLC, through planning, through lesson internalization and development. And we're also looking at adding an additional administrator so they can handle the operations of the school, so that the principal and the AP can handle the instructional operations. Some content area supports, if you want to speak to that, Lori.
Sure. With TEA and the different turnaround work that they support, they have a series of grants that districts are allowed to apply for called LASSO grants. Currently, we are already involved in one. We're involved in Strong Foundations, which is a planning grant. And so we're spending this year working with our contracted provider of Region 20, and we're going through the process of working through math. And so we're doing things around creating math frameworks, and they're helping lead us through the evaluation system when we get ready to choose which high quality instructional material we choose to adopt that we will then implement for next year. That grant is sunsetting at the end of this year. And so there's a new series of LASSO grants that are kind of picking up that work. And we're in the process of applying for what's called the LIFT grant, which is very similar to what we're doing now in math, but that one will be for reading. And we'll go through and working again with our contracted provider to go through the planning stage for next year, through the instructional adoption process for a new high quality instructional material for RLA that'll then be implemented the following year. And then the last one that's on here is the focus on bilingual and ESL. And I'm going to ask Erica if she can speak a little more to that.
So as far as the support goes, we have every teacher on that campus is either bilingual or ESL certified. So we've put out we started the work a little last year, but this year we've really honed in on how to provide content-based language instruction through professional development and then implementation and walkthrough. So we created the campus look-fors around achievement, high academic vocabulary, and listening, speaking, reading, and writing across all content. So we work with Sideless Education to be able to coach teachers, do the look-fors, create capacity within our leaders and our teachers as well, where they're working through PLC and how they're delivering instruction so that students, their output is reflective of what they're learning and the high rigor.
Are we still doing CBIS?
CBIS?
Campus, it's Behavior Intervention Systems. It's
Oh, or
positive. Positive.
PBIS.
So many,
Yes.
so many acronyms.
Yes.
We do. So
And we
that's
do have that implemented at Meade Elementary.
okay, perfect. Yes.
Yes.
Those are the visuals, right?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
2 years, there was a concerted effort in ensuring that we implemented PBIS at Meade. That was an area of concern.
And the language is spoken there?
Yes. And so, yeah.
Okay.
And so they've worked really hard on that. So when you look at year one and the concerns we had to make sure, do we have the conditions ready for kids to be ready to learn, right? That you have good management in class and that we have a culture built for learning. I think that was the number one celebration we had 2 weeks ago when TEA came and said, you definitely have a culture of learning here. You have kids that are happy and that are ready to learn. And we're here to join forces with you to make sure that Meade gets out of that.
Awesome.
And so that was the number one celebration we had 2 weeks ago that we shared with the core team.
Awesome. Thank you.
So, in a couple of weeks before our November board meeting, this is an overview. We'll be able to provide a forward-facing document that lists the specific milestones, the professional development, and how we're going to do performance management. So this is high level, but in a couple of weeks, we will provide the whole plan, and it's very detailed for your review.
And so to kind of piggyback on what Jessica just shared, so this is an overview of the plan. The plan is actually in this template that's got multiple, it's almost like a book. And that's what is going to be coming to you for your approval. It's due November 21st. And so at the November board meeting, we're required to have a public hearing. And basically, the plans will be posted for the public to gain any input. And then at the November board meeting, open up a public hearing to provide any public input that we have on the plans. Then we'll ask for approval so we could submit it by the November 21st deadline. With that said, the plan's already being implemented. These pieces that have been described are underway.
Right.
Yeah,
And then
that's what I was going to suggest real quickly. Full disclosure, we've had to go ahead and implement this plan just from a sake of time. I know that, like I say, we were working to try to schedule an academic meeting a few weeks ago. There were some challenges, but we just felt like time is of the essence, and so it is being fully implemented as we speak.
Good.
Yeah, we were told we would possibly not receive formal notice of approval until February. and that's already in the spring. And so we can't wait. And so we've already started the implementation of the plan. We'll certainly look at the feedback provided after we turn in the plan, and then work from there. But we've been very lucky in working with Susan and our continuous improvement department, as well as Pamela and TEA, and ensuring that she gives us guidance early and provides any feedback and adjustments we need to make right now. And so we're lucky in that aspect right now.
Because it's a catch-22.
Right. And to Mr. Blunt and your question number 2, are there any parts of the turnaround plan where you feel more support would help improve implementation? And the families there are seeking technology support. So we're going to look to work with Chris Trejo and looking at our home visits that we make. We'll do an inventory of the families that have a need, and we're going to ensure that those online interventions are available at their home, but also giving them the resources they need so they're able to do it at their home.
Internet or whatever.
Yes. And so looking at, some of the work we did when we were in COVID. So Wi-Fi and all things. And so we'll look to do that. We just got that feedback last Thursday. And so we're already working a plan. Right.
We have these tutoring things they can't do because there's no Wi-Fi, or whoever's there is using it, and it's just how many people living in the household.
Right. Lori and her team were able to confirm that there are some online interventions that they have the capacity to do from their home. And so we'll get everything set up, a little shortcut for them, and then have some training. We can go out to where they live and do one-on-one with them.
So I had a question. Last year, was Children's Shelter still going, sending kids to meet?
Say it one more time.
Shelter?
Children's, they're not, that was back with the previous principal, but the Children from Women's Shelter are no longer, because that was a target campus.
And so, going back to the plan, how many of those things, and maybe it can come at another time. So the first F we got, we put in a plan. The second F we got, we put in a plan, and now we have this plan. Is this one radically different? Is this one?
Now, I think, and that's a great point. So keep in mind that with this particular turnaround plan and the campuses, they receive back-to-back years of accountability, literally within a couple of week time period. So what transpired was they received, and correct me if my dates are wrong, 22, and then 23. And then there was a lawsuit that in essence put an injunction in place that prevented the release of accountability ratings. So we went the better part of a year, and then the appeal process, while the appeal process was working its way through, and so then 24 and 25 accountability was dropped to count for the turnaround planning time frame, if you will, back to back. So there wasn't an adjustment period from year 2 and year 3 accountability because we didn't have the accountabilities.
We did have math.
We had data, yeah.
We did have data from other sources to give us some sort of insight, and then we had kind of a predictive grade that campuses got. I'm trying to think proactively for other campuses that are like in a D mode. What are ways we're looking so that we don't have this trajectory?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think that the approach that we're taking is we're focusing and applying obviously more resources right now to help Meade in our all 4 campuses. But we are looking at, long-term trajectory. How do we help campuses that may find themselves in a similar situation, that may have similar demographics like earlier? Because the thing about the accountability system is we know that, or I feel pretty confident that for the next 2 years, this is the accountability system that we're going to be stuck with. For the most part, there'll be some tweaks and changes, and of course the rules are supposed to come out earlier. And anyway, we can get into that if we need to, but this is the rules of the road, if you will, for at least the next 2 years, and the standards are going to continually increase. So while we're working to improve student achievement, performance groups, et cetera, we know also, or just as the campus principals are being trained by D. Carney, don't chase the moving target or the target that is this year's target. Start thinking long-term trajectory, because it's ratcheting
Should be
up.
part of their strategic planning also, right?
Right. When we look at our, so our other campuses, as you had identified, Dr. Harrell, there are also going to be required to turn in a targeted, right, improvement plan, which does not have to be implemented into the next year if they don't yield results this year. And so what we've done is we've required them to implement those plans now. We've also increased our visits to the campus for those campuses biweekly, where our TAP campuses are weekly. And where every visit includes either a PLC visit or classroom visits. We've worked with Susan and her team to ensure that the classroom visits and other data metrics can be pulled at any time from central office level, so that we can take a look at that and make quick little pivots as we need to. And so those are some of the changes that we've done internally here to ensure that we can see change for all schools.
Great, and then maybe if it's okay with the board members that are here, that we just get updates every month at academic.
Absolutely. Yes, and so, when you think about all the different goals that we have and targets, so there's the board superintendent goals that hit kind of large systems, but also some academic pieces. Then there's the district improvement plan that gives specific targets of what we're looking to meet at every single grade level in the district. Then there's the campus improvement plans that every campus has. Then you continue with the more intensive all the way to the TAP plans. So what we can do is we can bring periodically progress towards those goals and formative data and an explanation of what we're doing as a response if we're seeing some areas where we're not growing.
How often do you all update those goals? 'Cause, I mean, to be fair and also not ask for more than you already do because you're already doing it, to be aligned with what you're already doing, would it be like beginning, middle, and end? Would that be the fairest way to disseminate the data?
Yes. We typically do our first kind of big formative review in November. Then we do our other one in early winter. And then we work to do our final one actually February-ish, because then that's closing in to when they take STAR. That's kind of our dipstick as a district. But to Jessica's point, any of our campuses that we have targeted, we're looking at that.
In November, we'll be able to bring you our Effective Schools Framework diagnostic visits that were done at our targeted improvement campuses, in which a facilitator from Region 20 has already come out and spent a whole day at the campus, in which they spoke to the teacher, the administrators. They visited a PLC for planning and a PLC for a data review. And they also did 10 to 15 classroom visits. And so it was pretty comprehensive. We're going to receive our summative reports in the next 2 weeks. And then we're going to go ahead and compile all that information for a superintendent review next month. And so I think that is certainly something we can bring to review with you as we get kind of a third party view of the work that we're doing at our campuses. And then we also have a meeting scheduled with Dr. Kraft and Region 20, mid-November, Dr. Kraft, to take a look at those summative reviews and what areas of continuous improvement opportunities there are for those campuses.
Those 15 walkthroughs, were those purposefully or just randomly? Did you pick the 15 lowest performing classrooms? Or
Yeah, well, I'll let you know with TEA, we had
they
to,
just ran-
they asked for a roster of the teachers, the master schedule, a review of the assessments done from end of last year to the beginning of this year, our protocol for our classroom walkthroughs from the supervisor and the principal, and then they developed the agenda for the day, and they told us which classrooms we were going to, and they picked them. Yes.
And then when we do our walkthroughs, because we also have technical assistance teams, we target it towards the specific goals and skill sets that we want to observe.
Yeah, and so we're looking forward to the summative reviews that we'll receive, and then we'll ensure that if we need to make any changes that aligns to their principal professional practice goal and the ESF levers, we'll certainly do that.
Did the teachers have knowledge of their visits or no?
Yes, they did.
They were all scared.
No. You know, one of the nice things, Dr. Duran, is, you know, everybody's working together and they're working hard. And they want to ensure the success of our students and the success of their campus. The CNI and bilingual department and continuous improvement and administration are at their campuses often. So when you walk into their rooms, they're not turning heads anymore. They just know, oh, they're here to see the great things that we're doing. And so that's a really good thing. That was another thing noted by Region 20 and TEA. They said, well, they know that, you know, this is a common practice.
That's
and
good.
so that's a really good thing.
The students will call you out. They'll let you
Right.
know.
And we also want to make sure that our teachers know that we're there as a means of support, and so that they can receive the support that we're trying to give them.
Good. Okay, awesome. And then Bobby.
My question is just because everyone in this room has a very lofty goal, because there's 25 from my count schools that got either a D or an F. But I'm really interested in their Sparza. Like, how did they go from a D rating to a B rating? Might not have the answer right now, but just curiosity more than anything else.
Well, some of those practices in working with the Sparsa has been ensuring that we had our very best in front of the teachers each and every day, which were those campus academic specialists and teaching the Tier 1 instruction. And then Mick Powers also working with the campus specialists and the classroom teachers did a little bit of that curriculum compacting that we spoke about. So in the works that we did with the Sparsa to turn it around is kind of where this plan came to fruition, to see that we can try to move Mead forward.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking and I was like, what did they do?
Yeah, they were very intentional on the readiness standards that were being taught that they must know, and ensuring that the supporting standards were done during their guided groups and during their stations.
Okay, thank you.
I think you just mentioned it there at the tail end, because I know we're talking a lot about coaching visits, PLCs, bi-weekly teacher walkthroughs, and it can get overwhelming. I mean, not only for teachers, but for students, and just, I guess, not to forget, you know, these are our babies, and we want to make sure that they're enjoying school, right? And I like that you said that teachers are seeing this as more of a support, because there's a stigma, you know, when you know that you're that campus that, you know, everybody's kind of watching. So just want to make sure that, you know, we continue to remember that these kids are there. They want to have fun too. They want to, you know, it's going to be a challenge for us, and that, you know, it's got to be a whole buy-in, and it you know, can't be from, you know, feeling like, you know, you're always under the microscope or whatnot. So thank you for doing that, and teachers feeling like they're being supported.
Right, and we want to meet our teachers where they're at, right? And so but the only way we can do that is to get to know our teachers just as well as we ask our teachers to know their students. And so that's the work we're doing. And so when we walk into the classrooms, we have our friends and we call them by name, and they're excited the very next week to show off their work. And certainly we're becoming a part of the Mead family, the Martin family, and the Glass family, and all our schools. And so we just don't want to be there every now and then. We're there to help them transform the learning and the experience for all students.
I think that the campus culture, you have to create that, because I was at a campus that heavily did walkthroughs. We had like, I don't know how many. And after a while, you get used to that, and the kids just become authentic selves. There's no show per se being thrown. It is what it is. And I think the more that campuses classrooms get acclimated to that, it should be expected, right? A walkthrough can happen at any time.
Yeah, you know, at one of our public meetings, the teachers have been present, and the parents turned around and said, "We know y'all are working as hard as you can, and we love you, and we're here to support you." And so I really think everybody's just working as hard as they can and working together.
Okay, quick 3 speed round questions. First one is, no, anybody, I look around. On the learning tree component, because I'm getting pretty close to that one, shouldn't know. But is there a way also to hold that? I know what they're doing, them also, so they fit in accountable wise, not just have it, but something that says, oh yeah, this is working at Meade, et cetera. I don't know if there's a relationship with the site leader or what, but just something to think about. And I would think they would welcome that too.
Yeah, we can work with Susan, and we'll talk with the lead specialist there at all of our campuses, because part of that plan to ensure the extended learning on the online intervention is to make sure they're equipped to know how to use that resource.
Yeah.
And so that is something we're just getting started, and so we'll ensure we work hand in hand on that.
On the second one is on the Chromebooks. The kids, are they allowed, they don't take Chromebooks home anymore at elementary school, correct? Would that be, never mind, just side item.
That is exactly what we're going to do for
That's
these
talking about the
families.
technology is actually let them take that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, the other piece to that is the Wi-Fi, and so we're going to have to work
Yeah.
through those technicalities. And so we are going to send out a survey. So we're just getting on the groundwork off this. We're going to work on a survey to see what the needs are from the family, making sure we identify the just right intervention, so that the kids aren't just getting on anything. They're specific to the lessons that have been detailed and assigned by the classroom teacher. And we're hopeful that through the visits that Erica's making, we can look at other resources that our families are needing as well.
Okay. And the last one is, if the board's okay with me saying this, within its proper role that the board has, whether we fit in as a stakeholder or something like that, that would be great for us to be included where it's appropriate, whether it's say, hey, you got to provide the funding, whatever from a board say, we don't be involved with the implementation and everything else, but what would be proper, and that may be showing a little bit more support.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, anything else anybody had? Now, are we also going into the TAP part, or do we want to just like?
Well, so that was the overview of Meade, which, so we have the other, we have the
I'm just
overview of
wondering, because I'm looking, it looks
Martin
very
Glass and Neff.
similar.
It's very similar. What's different, of
Maybe
course,
that's the way to show
the
it.
targets that we're working to meet is different. And you will see some different action steps. For example, like at Colby Glass, they don't have the number of bilingual students. Their population's very different than the population at Meade. So some of the targeted strategies, so you're not going to see on there that we're going, doubling down on CBLI.
Right.
So some of those are a little bit different. As I mentioned before, those 3 plans, the state says you don't need to implement until next year, but those are already in place as well. And we can include those campuses and their data for updates for you guys when we bring forward Meade, if that's your desire.
Thank you. Is that okay? Everybody good?
Yes.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
And just as a reminder, we have the turnaround plans on the agenda for tomorrow night as well.
Thank you.
Synopsis.
Okay. Questions, Karen?
Yeah, I don't know how far we're gonna advance through this. You do have the map stores here from
Yes.
compare, are you gonna talk about that?
Yes.
Okay. So do you want to go ahead? Is it okay with the board to go ahead and go into the map data?
Is that the next item?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's the next one.
Yes, Madam Chair.
All right.
So yes, this was ordered very specifically to kind of talk broadly, then start narrowing down. Because the data you see in MAP from beginning of the year, this is the actual data of students this year. So this is their baseline. We'll be bringing back middle of the year to you, and that's where we can compare a student to himself or herself. So when we talk about NWEA MAP, some of you are very familiar. This is an excellent instrument. More and more districts are using it. We began in the 22-23 school year. And so last year was the first year that we were consistent and with a lot of fidelity and protocols K-8, because we added different grade levels. So we feel really good that we have the fidelity down, processes down, that we can use this data to make some good decisions.
Thank you. Just a quick overview of MAP so everyone's really clear on what the assessment is. It's a nationally normed adaptive test. The goal is to hit that zone of proximal development. That's where the kid struggles just enough but is making enough gain. And it focuses on reading and math, and the purpose is intended to inform instruction. So where the magic really happens is how the teacher uses the individual student data to make decisions for the student. This gives you a graphic of what happens when a student takes the exam. So it's really trying to hit that 50% mark, right? No matter how hard they try, they're gonna hit that mark where they get some wrong. So it's at 50%. It measures growth and achievement while also estimating the student's instructional level, and it measures students' progress or growth at school for math and reading. Again, MAP is one data point. There are some correlations to STAR, but it's not always super accurate. We have found in our studies that it's about 70% predictive. So not something to hang your hat on, but something to definitely inform your actions. So this is our MAP implementation and learning support. So we start by doing training, and Dr. Jordan mentioned this. We've really streamlined training. It's very consistent now. It comes out of the assessment department, so it's much more specific and targeted. In September, K through 8, actually biology as well now, they take the exam. We use that data to make informed instructional decisions throughout the fall. And then at the end of December, early January, we take our middle of year MAP assessment. And then we use that data. It also has some predictive data that we use to inform the rest of our time. And then at the end of the year before STAR, they take the end of year MAP. So these are the three different growth metrics, or these are the three different metrics that we use. We use achievement, and we usually use median achievement, which kind of removes the outliers. It evaluates student achievement compared to nationwide norms. Growth determines whether students are growing enough based on their personal starting point. And student progress, the best part about MAP is that it follows them throughout. So if you look at their student profile, you can see their different achievement levels throughout time. So this is MEAD. We talked about this earlier. You're gonna see data on the 4 different TAP plans. If you look at MEAD, that 50% dotted line, that's the national norm right there, 50%. That's what you're wanting to look for. The bars are representing achievement from fall achievement 24-25, fall achievement 25-26. The little fuchsia dots are showing what the growth looks like for that grade level. And if you look at me, the left here is reading, the right is math, and it's all fall, right? It's fall to fall growth measure, which is really attributed to the prior year's teacher. Dr. Jordan mentioned this earlier. When we look at middle of year, that's our first growth metric, achievement metric that would be aligned to that teacher teaching the current year. When you look at first grade, you see the fuchsia dot here for math is the 70th percentile. That is exactly what we want to see. Accelerated growth, which then you see the achievement, right, for first grade, fall 25-26 is substantially higher. So MEAD has higher achievement in all grades from than the prior school year, except in second math and reading, and I think that was mentioned earlier. Accelerated growth in 4th reading and 1st and 5th grade math. Again, like I said, that's attributed to the prior year's teacher since we're looking at fall to fall growth. Here's Martin's fall achievement and growth. Again, you've got 4th grade is a little bit above the 50th percentile for reading. 1st grade, all growth is a little bit below that 50 percentile. And again, like I said, you want accelerated growth. Martin has growth close to the 60th percentile in fourth grade reading and in first grade math. Glass, fall achievement and growth. Again, you're looking at that 50th percentile. You see third grade is above, second grade, fifth grade in math. Reading is relatively flat. Achievement is a little bit lower this fall. There's accelerated growth, like I said, in third and fifth grade math. Then we've got middle school. We've got NEF. NEF has in eighth grade reading, you see the growth is above the 50th percentile, and you've got your achievement is a little bit higher. Other than that, the growth is pretty flat. Achievement is pretty flat. Now, this is also interesting. We've kind of made some mention of it, how this is organized. The left is, and this is all elementary, the left is reading and the right is math. We've organized it by different improvement plans. So we've got the red is the TAP plan, the orange is TIP, green is Title I, and then the blue is non-title. And if you look, you can see how achievement right at that top quintile right there is high achievement, high growth. The bottom is low achievement, low growth. And you can see how our achievement and growth falls along what line? It's back to the poverty, like someone mentioned earlier. I think Dr. Fay mentioned that earlier. You can also see, though, here, you see Meade on the math. There's a high growth, low achievement, but then the high growth area. That's what we want to see for our campuses that are doing a TIP and a turnaround plan. We've got middle school. Again, on the left is reading, on the right is math. It's the 4 different quartiles. You can see NEF here in low growth, low achievement. We've got some other campuses living there as well. And then you can see campuses like Jones and Hobby. See, they're in the high growth, high achievement. You've got Hobby right on the edge here of the high achievement, high growth.
I have a question. As far as NEF, what are the feeder elementary schools? I should know this. I know by heart. Don't judge me.
No judgment here. Glass, Eric, help me.
So Glass would be a feeder into NEF. So those are like, if we help Glass, eventually we'll help
Absolutely.
NEF.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Some non-title and the low. I'm trying to see. Luna? No.
That's Luna. And
Yeah, so we've got Vale and Luna. Is that what you're talking to about, Dr. Harrell? Yeah. We got Luna and Vale. And then over here, you've got Luna and Vale again. Over on the low achievement, low growth. Again, like I mentioned, though, this is one metric, right? And while it does, it's great because it's longitudinal. You can look at a student for over their career. We also do some tracking. I think we showed this a little bit last year. We look at achievement over time by student groups, which is also interesting. But like Dr. Jordan said earlier, this is grade level of grade level. It's not tracking the same group of kid on these graphs.
Do we know how close those campuses are to becoming Title I campuses? Was that something that we're seeing increasing in our schools? Being called a Title I campus? Like meeting the criteria to become?
That was about 60%. Luna's a little bit lower than that. They're around the 50%.
But it's growing towards that?
It is.
Okay, that's another correlation, I believe.
Again, these are the moving forward. This is how we use map data. There's different levels to how we use it and how we approach it, right? Again, like I earlier mentioned, the individual student, that's really where the magic is, where the teacher can use that data to kind of make decisions for the individual students. And then looking at a classroom, you can group students based on map groups them for you based on weaknesses. And then you've got Campus PLC that uses this information to, again, identify strengths and areas of growth so that the team can best support the teacher practices. And then lastly, as a district, we use it to provide real-time support to campuses that are having some areas of weakness, but also celebrating some strengths. Any other questions?
So as mentioned, we'll be ready to bring the MOI back to you guys, and that's when we'll be comparing students to themselves if they haven't left our district. So that's helpful. Yeah, so this is, I know, a lot of pages. So as mentioned before, there's a process in this district, and actually it happens in all districts because it's in the Texas Education Code, where you go through what's called a comprehensive needs assessment. And campuses do it, the district does it, and then you identify your really areas of deficiency, typically related to academics. And so as a district, we went through that process, and we actually think had part of it in ISO, kind of our findings. And so then from that, we set targets. And the targets are instructional targets to meet by a reliable and valid measure. And when it's related to STAR, those targets are set at the MEET level, at the MEETS level. Campuses go through a similar process. What you'll see with campuses, they'll certainly have their required goals around grade 3 math, grade 3 reading, CCMR, as that applies to their particular level. But you'll see some of them will have additional goals. Some may have some around discipline, if that's something that they feel like is hindering academic performance. Some may have one around attendance, because we know if students can't get there, it doesn't matter how great our Tier 1 instruction is. So it's a requirement by statute that that we bring these forward. So if you take a look on page 58, these are the district pieces. You see that typically in K2, our measure is the NWEA MAP. Students take that. We do have additional measures. They take, the circle assessment. They'll take TextKia. So there are other things that we're measuring progress, but in terms of the reliable and valid measure, that's kind of the quintessential, that will be their growth and achievement on MAP. So you'll see the reading, the math, and then the science, and then of course CCMR. So you may ask the question, well, what about social studies? Well, remember, this is a deficiency plan. This is when you do your comprehensive needs assessment. It's where you have gaps or you're not, hitting the mark that you want to hit. So the areas where we're considerably above the state doesn't mean we're not still working on those, because we are. This is actually part of the improvement. So each campus, and we went ahead and included them all, campuses also go through that process. So you can see that every campus, A to Z, has their 25-26 goals and performance targets. They too progress monitor these at key intervals throughout the year to see where they're on target and where they're not on target. So think of a particular campus. Let's think of Meade, and I appreciate your comments, Ms. Zapata, because this is a lot for our teachers. And so you think of teachers, especially somebody who's in their first 5 years. Yeah, and they're learning. This is a lot for these teachers. And so when you think about, every campus has this SIP, but then you take a Meade. So they have their SIP, and then they have their TAP, and then they're digging into ESF. All of those are good, helpful things, but it can be very overwhelming. So part of what we work to do as a technical assistance team, as much as we can, we try to simplify. So the individual teacher isn't like, okay, I need to go look at this plan, I need to go look at that plan, because it's just too much. So we went ahead and included all of them. So you're going to see, you'll see Leon Springs in here, Carnahan, but then you'll see some that, are turnaround campuses. So you can take a look at what their SIP is, and then their TAP doesn't go against their SIP. It just becomes more intensive and directive. Yes. Oh.
I was looking. I just was curious. I'm looking at the high schools and I'm looking at the CCRM goals, but do you have somewhere what they met last year?
The CCMR goals.
Like I can see like, I guess the one that really kind of catch, like Brennan's is like a 40%. So it makes me think, what was their goal last year?
We bumped the goals up 3%. So if you subtract 3, would be
From all of them?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I was just like, what? Are you sure 3? Those are very exact numbers. Like, like, I mean, these numbers are very exact. So each one of these is just 3% increase?
For CCMR.
Yeah.
You mean that it's not a decimal, like 33?
Well, yeah, it's kind of like, it's like 95, 70, 40, 80, like they all were, like I would assume the numbers would be a little different.
Let us share kind of what we're doing in the CCMR realm, because we feel pretty confident that not only with coherent sequencing, a dramatic increase in the number of students now enrolled, engaged in dual credit opportunities. Jerry Woods and the team have really put forth a lot of efforts and then even planning going forward, particularly in and around really incentivizing the attainment of the endorsement prior to graduation. So Jerry or Joanne, whoever wants to start, if we can just paraphrase real quickly.
All right, good evening. So, as Dr. Kraft said, our dual credit has increased to, quite a bit to almost 7,000 students. So we had a big push for English 4. We are doing something similar to that in college algebra, dual credit in the future. We just had a workshop on Thursday. We had well over 120 campus personnel there, and that was focused on what do we, the targeted practices for CCMR. Mainly around seniors. We want to make sure we get the seniors with CCMR, and then looking at juniors as well. We'll do another workshop in the spring. And so a lot of work being done, again, dual credit around CTE and certifications, and making sure those courses, the materials are being ordered, the reviews are being done, the tests are being given, the students are passing the test in the proper courses. As you know, with CTE, it changed. It's not only passing the certification, but it's completing the correct number of courses in the sequence. A lot of work being done around TSI. We have a SAT TSI day coming up in April instead of just SAT. We also have a huge initiative around college prep, ELA. In which all our students, seniors who have not met CCMR, are enrolled in college prep along with English 4. And so if they pass the TSI, then they can have that college prep removed from their schedule, because college prep only allows a 1-year waiver from those remedial courses, as you well know, and TSI allows 5 years. So going back to TSI, we utilize Edmentum. That's our platform for credit retrieval. And our contract with them is unlimited licenses. And with the flexibility with state comp, we have the ability now to allow all students to access TSI prep. So we have TSI prep built into our English 3 and our Algebra 2 curriculums. We have a TSI Blitz prepared for those seniors that I just mentioned a while ago. And then we have the Edmentum platform. Excuse me. We recently had PSAT Day on mid-October. And so some funding that's left over from that, we're able to pay, bless you, we're able to pay for TSI for many seniors. So up to like 320 exams. So that'll help also with those getting those seniors across the finish line.
One of the things that we're looking at going forward is we are looking at incentivizing, because I know there have been some questions in and around open campus lunches. We're looking to incentivize closing campuses, with the exception of seniors who have already attained their endorsement, their CCMR endorsement, and are able to provide transportation off campus. So more to come in that regard. But obviously it's a safety concern first and foremost. But as a tertiary benefit, we're looking to incentivize off-campus lunch for seniors only going forward.
In addition, we have off periods because of the number of credits offered in middle school. Many seniors are able to come to school late, take first period or not have a first period, or leave earlier, 7th and 8th period. And now seniors for next year, starting in 26-27, will have to already have CCMR or be on track, such as an English 4 dual credit, for example, in order to have an off period. In addition, I'll be coming to you all with a revised graduation policy with early graduates. They will now have to have achieved CCMR in order to be an early graduate. So,
Jerry, I have a question. Oh, Hassel.
Just something to look into because it came up today in discussion, and I don't know if it affects Northside or not. But students that take the TSI at like when the community colleges, like that information isn't like picked up by TEA. So really kind of working to figure out like how you're going to, I know there's been discussion of like, adding the TSDS as like a secondary when they go test, but I don't know if that's a good amount of students that are being missed.
all our campuses are TSI sites, so we have them taken on the campus.
I think it's the second, like, because don't we pay for like the first one, but then like if they don't pass, I just know there's a good amount that take it perhaps at the community college. And same thing like the graduating seniors that graduate but are still missing TSI and you're trying to get them before August 1st.
Right.
Like those kind of like, because that's the worst when it's like they have it and they're done and like, yay, but like it doesn't count.
Right. We do. Thankfully, we employ dual credit liaisons at every campus. They do work closely with Julie and any strays, for lack of better words, that do get biased. But yeah, we do to a great extent, try to get them to take it on campus. But yes, ma'am, we do have to recapture a few.
My question, and I don't expect an answer right now, but I'm curious, out of the 97,000 students that we have, what percentage of eligible dual credit students are actually taking advantage of that? The opportunity to be dual credit students.
Yeah, that's a good question. So
But don't answer it
we're
now.
at 7,000. Let us pull a denominator. And,
Because I want it to be like a lot.
well, we represent. No, it is.
Then I'll tell you.
Well, it's. I mean, it's almost doubled in the course of 2 years.
I can tell you, Alamo Colleges, as you know, has 5 campuses, serve 47 ISDs, I think 21 charters and 17 private schools. They have a total of almost 22,000 students, and we have 7,000 of them. So we have a lot of dual credit students. And again, with our math initiative that I was just speaking to, with that college algebra, that the push that we're going to do there will be a game changer as well, because we just recently found out we will not have college prep math. So that college algebra initiative was going to be big anyways. Now it's going to be even more of a game changer because college prep math was not approved for the entire state. So that's that's a little bit of a curveball, but that's okay.
We'll pull it together. Yeah, we'll get a percentage. It's probably pushing close to 50%, if not over.
As we continue with, and we'll have more dual credit teachers. The work that we're doing with Alamo Colleges to get these teachers credentialed, we'll be bringing more into our system next year. So these campuses that unfortunately, with the high ECODIS, will have more dual credit opportunities as well. So looking forward to that. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. So we bring this to you every October. As you know, we have multiple languages spoken in our district. And so when you have 20 or more students who speak a language at any grade level, which that can add up real quickly in Northside, you have to have a waiver to be able to teach them ESL. There are languages where we don't have teachers who speak that particular language. So I'll kick it to Erica. Oh, it's your very last thing in your packet. Yeah. Oh, the mic.
Okay, so just like Dr. Jordan mentioned, we are required to file for a bilingual exception and an ESL waiver for any vacancies that TA requires. And the last year was the first year they went into an online system to create a comprehensive plan. This year, it's the same. However, TEA is now aligning PEIMS coding in the bilingual exception waiver. So that way we are looking at a comprehensive plan to actually provide bilingual support. So that should be reflective in our plan. So this year, our top languages are Spanish, Pashto, Arabic, Vietnamese, Farsi, and Telugu. Last year we had Tamil, but we no longer have Tamil. That meets that language of 20. So we are filing that exception for Pashto, Arabic, Vietnamese, and Farsi, and it's only required up to grades 5 if it's an elementary that ends at grade 5.
And Erica, can you mention which countries, like Pashto, is it?
Yes, that's
India?
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan.
And then that's Pashto's from Afghanistan. And then you get into Arabic could be Iraq and, Iran. They speak some Farsi there. Vietnamese is Vietnam. And then Telugu comes from the kind of, yes, India.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then,
Iranian, Afghan, and Pakistan. Speak Pashto and Farsi.
and Farsi. Yeah. So, yeah, a little bit Arabic. So those are the countries, but this used to be all highlighted in yellow. We don't have as many this year. So we, for Spanish, we do offer dual language in a transitional bilingual model. We do not, however, for the other languages. And what TA now is pushing for is that now we have alternative methods served so that we're actually pushing for dual language or transitional bilingual Vietnamese or Pashto or Farsi. And the challenge therein comes is that the state does not have Pashto, tests to be able to support or resources. So I've had conversations with Region 20 and TA just around the support and community of practice to be able to implement this. So this is going to be a bigger conversation in our district because we're not like the small districts. We have a lot of different languages and programs that we have to file for. So that will be a part of the comprehensive plan as we work with HR. We struggle currently to recruit bilingual Spanish speaking teachers, and that's part of our plan. So to recruit, members of the community who speak Pashto and Vietnamese, that's on the forefront just to be able to support the classroom. So we file for those. In addition to that, we have early childhood. And since they are the teacher of record, we do have to file a waiver if they are not bilingual certified because they're supposed to provide bilingual instruction as a teacher of record for our early childhood kiddos who are dual coded. And then lastly is the ESL waiver. We have very few that we are filing because our district has had a huge push in certifying ESL teachers in early childhood and ALE. So we have very few there that we file. But at the end of the day, we require training. So those that don't have the certification, we go in and we provide CBLI training, support, certification reimbursement. We collaborate with HR on trying to recruit. And now we've been working with our newcomer liaisons and our community around Meade and McDermott to start recruiting experts in the community who have licenses or some, other form of support that they can provide for those campuses in the future. So that's on the to-do list. We've also explored with Cast Teach. We have some students who have graduated our programs from all the way beginner who speak those languages to try to start pushing for some bilingual certifications. But I know that's a lot.
That's a wrap. Oh, yes. So in your electronic packet, which was 189 pages, I had all of those books there. Didn't print all that out, but this will be the second round that we're asking for approval. Will be on the agenda for tomorrow night. And again, these are books that have been posted on our website for 30 days to the public to get input. We haven't had any input on these books. So once they're approved, we will then give the list to our librarians and they can then select from that list. Doesn't mean every book on there will get ordered. It just means that those are approved to be ordered.
So I had a real quick question. Since we've been doing this and parents have now the opportunity to exclude books from their child reading it electronically, right? Has the word gotten out? Because I know the librarians were working hard to get the word out about let's work as partners in this, and here's a way that we can make sure that your child's needs are being met. Has that taken off?
Absolutely. And we have, just a couple stories are top of mind. At one of our middle schools, we had a parent that had some concerns about a couple of books, and the parent immediately kind of took a step above. And so we went back, gave that librarian an opportunity to sit with the parent. Parent actually had some really good input about different ways to arrange things that the librarian took up. Then the parent called back to the person they called before to say, never mind, I'm totally fine here at this particular campus. There was an incident in an elementary, and it was a book in the classroom library, and that the student just self-selected. The great news is the parent had older siblings who had this teacher, so there was already a relationship. Then, people say, well, what is the process? So we explained the process. That parent sat with that teacher. They talked about what's it like to pick the just right book. So kind of like when we opened up with Senate Bill 12, it can be overwhelming. What do nurses do? What do librarians do? What do all these folks do? So we've had some of our librarians and maybe teachers feel that way with library books. But what we're seeing through continued communication and those particular examples, that if you'll go back to your teacher and you'll go back to your campus, so far that has helped kind of smooth it out. Our two library leaders, they even use those examples to then push out to all the librarians and just say, hey, here's another success story of collaboration. So far, I think things are going smoothly, and we just have to keep the informal process in place.
Yeah. Well, I asked that question because I talked to a parent the other day who had some concerns. She didn't know that you could work with a librarian or work with the online, what is it, the portal? What is it called? It's an
About EBSCO?
No. No, what do our parents log on to hack? Which why can't I remember that? But you can actually denote which books you don't want your child to read, like books on witches or whatever. And she didn't know that. That librarians can do that. So when the child comes in to check out a book on witches, it has, Karen's name in there that she can't do books on witches. And I just was curious that how many parents know that. I know that because you and Diana talked to me about it when I had that concern, but I think it's such a great way to keep in front of this.
Yes.
So it doesn't eat us up in a way where we're auditing books and removing them and doing some things area districts are doing. So I don't know. Did y'all know that?
About
we've been
thank
doing
you.
that for a long time.
We have had the opportunity for parents,
Not
even
electronically though.
prior to Senate Bill 13, we had processes in place. But to your point, Dr. Harrell, I think we just need to continue to communicate that. And it's kind of the cornerstone. Parent is the child's first teacher and their decision maker. So we want to encourage them to use those tools to help, guide what they want for their child.
Gotcha. Yeah. Go ahead, Sonia.
I saw on consent agenda that there's the school teacher permit. Do those go through this meeting before going to consent, or do they just go on to consent?
They go on consent. They're really an HR item. We can always pull an individual consent agenda item for discussion.
I reviewed it. I just, if those can be posted, since they're just going straight to consent, can they be posted like a lot earlier to give us time? Because I think it was posted maybe yesterday.
It should have gone in your Friday letter. I'll have
on
to
that
double
end?
check. Should have
Okay.
been in Friday letter last week and then,
On like,
and then posted online, yeah.
okay.
But we can double check, Dr. Hasso.
Yeah, just because they're like directly on consent agenda, and normally I'll go on and like review what's going on, and I was like, where did this come from? So I figured it would be academics. I think last time it was on academics. But you're right. I mean, I'd like to review them.
Sure.
Thank you.
Great. Are we good to adjourn at 7:15? Everybody good?
Let me look at Jessica. Thank you. Thank y'all very much.